Hey, sports fans, PBNC Sports Chaos. Crazy weekend. We got all-star games in football, all-star games in hockey. We've got the Duke, North Carolina rivalry tonight. It's the week before Super Bowl Sunday. We'll talk a little bit about what we saw last weekend's games in the conference championships. And, of course, what happened this week. The GOAT, Tom Brady, retired. And then complete coaching chaos when BFlo came out with his story. We'll talk a little bit about that, what we think on that. And, of course, the Olympics started. PB, are you watching it? By the way, I got my Olympic hat on. Are you watching it?
Nice. Yeah, I've been watching it. If you can get Peacock, it's a free app. It's basically NBC's kind of affiliate channel, if you will. And they show every single thing you could possibly imagine. So I've been watching some of the women's hockey this morning. I watched the China-U.S. curling match, too, which was pretty interesting. So, I like curling.
Yes, you do. You're a professional curler. Hey, by the way, I just mentioned NHL All-Star Game. It just tipped off. I see it right now in the background. PB, let's give you your 1 minute of hockey this week. Tell us a mid-season update.
Yeah, well, there's a couple teams right now that are running away with it. Florida Panthers, right down here in my backyard. I've seen them several times this year, and I have tickets to see them again in another 3 times before the end of the season. So I'm looking forward to that. A lot of goal scorers on that team, 194 goals so far this season in just 47 games. In January, they had the 6th most goals in NHL history in any single month.
How many?
Which was pretty impressive. I don't know what the final number was there, but what I do know is that on December
3rd, the Jaguars had touchdowns for the whole year.
I think so. And then what's interesting is on December 30th, which does not count into that stat, their last game of December, they played the Lightning and they smoked them 9-3. So they're beating up some good teams along the way. They're actually losing to some of the bad teams. They've lost to the Seattle Kraken twice this year. But right now, if all holds well and they can get that one spot, that's going to be key in that division, that Atlantic division, because your number 2 team and your number 3 team are probably going to be Toronto Maple Leafs and Tampa Bay. And those could be the top 3 teams in the entire conference right there, Florida, Tampa, and Toronto. So you kind of get screwed because if you're the 2 or 3 seed, you got to play that 2 or 3 seed, right? One gets to play one of the wild card teams. So that's going to be tough. That's a big, because they're only 3 points ahead of Tampa. So Tampa can still sneak in down the stretch here. You get the 2 seed, you can get bounced in the first round. So that's a tough road.
All right, let me ask you the last question before we move on. Who was the last team to win the President's Cup and win the Stanley Cup?
I know. I feel like every time a team wins the President's Cup, they bail in like the first round or something.
There you go. You don't want that to happen. That's a curse. I'm telling you right now, you don't want that to happen. Hopefully Tampa Bay surpasses them, man.
Well, but out west though, you got the Colorado Avalanche too. They started a little slow. They're super hot now. They could chase the Panthers for that President's Cup at the end of the year and actually and win that. But if you watched our NHL preview show back in early October. PB predicted a Colorado Avalanche, Florida Panthers Stanley Cup this year. Those 2 teams right now, top 2 teams in the league, top scoring teams in the league, looking really good.
By the way, my team is hosting the All-Star Game in Vegas, where literally no one is sober that I can see right now on the ice.
Including the players, probably.
Exactly. It's unbelievable. Hey, by the way, NFL news this week, the Washington Football Club came out with their new name, the Washington Commanders. I know you had a little poll. What do you think of that name?
I liked it. When I saw the 8 possible choices, I thought Defenders and Command. I had Commanders my number 1 choice, and Defenders was my number 2. That's what I thought they were going to land on. I like Commanders. I think it's a cool name. You don't see it's not in any other sport really. Not even like a college nickname that I can think of is Commanders. So it's got some uniqueness, and it's got a little bit to do with Washington and Capitol Hill and the Commanders and all that kind of stuff too. I think it's a nice name. I like it.
I can't believe it can't be the Generals, but apparently that name is still kind of trademarked to the New Jersey Generals from the AFL days. The
USFL days. Yeah. Herschel Walker played for them.
Yes, he did. So did Doug Flutie. All right. Hey, by the way, tonight, big college basketball game down in North Carolina. UNC is hosting Duke. Why we bring it up? I personally think it's the best rivalry in all college basketball. I'll ask PB in a moment, but it's Coach K, last game ever in Chapel Hill. PB, get this. I heard this week. One of the guys that does some announcing on ESPN. Apparently, Coach K used to walk out by himself before the game, and the fans from North Carolina would boom. So a few years back, he started to time his walk to when Roy Williams came out. So Roy would come out, he would come out, the fans would start to boo, but then they're like, we don't want to boo for Roy. So they would clap, and Coach K did that on purpose. Pretty sly, huh?
That is.
Ooh, all right.
Nice.
Hey, all right, so I just mentioned it. In my mind, it's the best basketball rivalry in all of college. Do you agree?
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I mean, that ACC is like the SEC of football, right? That's the equivalent for basketball. Yeah, I'd have to go with that. I mean, the next best division in basketball is probably the Big Ten. And you could go back historically and look at some of those rivalries, especially when Indiana was in their heyday and Michigan's always had, go back to the days of the Fab Five. There's some pretty decent rivalries that could come up there. Louisville, Kentucky, even though they're not in the same division, that's an interesting one. So there's some good ones out there, but you got to put Duke, North Carolina right there.
I'll ask you a question. Obviously, college football rivalries are huge, right? You got Ohio State, Michigan. You got Alabama, Auburn. You got even the Yale-Harvard game, right? Texas, Oklahoma. I would kind of argue that even though those are huge rivalries, the North Carolina-Duke game might be right amongst the top three between football and college.
Yeah, football and basketball. Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, football, yeah, basketball. Yeah. And if you say all of sports, if I had to pick a top 10, it's in the top 10 as well.
Including pros? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
It could be. Yeah, it could be.
All right, hey, last weekend, we had the Afc Nfc Championship Games. Unbelievable. Some good action there. Not as good as the week before, but still pretty good action, PB. Unfortunately, you took a little donut there, 0-2 on your teams you had. You should have picked Cincinnati. I know you were leaning a little bit that way.
I wanted to.
You went with San Fran. I know you like them. We'll talk about that next week a little more. But right away, your immediate takeaways. I'm going to ask you, was it Mahomes blowing the game, or was it just Burrow was just too good?
Yeah, I think what happened there is Cincinnati just adjusted at halftime. I mean, when that first half was going on, I said, this team is down 21-3. There's no way, I don't care how good Burrow plays, if they can't stop Kansas City, there's no way he's going to be able to come back from an 18-point deficit. But what did they do? They came out in the first possession in the second half, and they stopped Kansas City. Kansas City got the ball to stop the second half on top of everything else, and they stopped it. That was huge. And then Burrow threw that pick, which was I got a little concerned when he threw that pick. But outside of that, their defense stepped up. I would say that I would give the credit to the Cincinnati coaching staff and the Cincinnati defense for making necessary adjustments to give Joe Burrow the opportunity to win the game. Because otherwise, if that game just continued as a shootout, they wouldn't have won. Cincinnati wouldn't have won.
I think you made my point, though. I think at the end of the day, you just said it. If Kansas City keeps doing what they did in the first half, they win the game. Mahomes went into a hole. Where did he go? He was not the Mahomes of the first half, right?
Yeah, he may have gotten a little cocky there.
I think so. He reverted to the Mahomes of last year, who was a wild child, thought he could win it with, throwing the ball wherever he was on the field instead of taking the dump down checkoff. So, all right, let me ask you about the second game. Poor Jimmy G, he's getting buried. Was it more about Jimmy G sucking, or was it about the Rams just being the better team?
I think the Rams were the better team. I mean, Jimmy G, we know what he is, and he played like he is. He had 2 touchdown passes. He had 1 pick. I mean, he had 230-something yards passing. He had a QBR of 70-something. I mean, you know what I mean? He had a rating of 90 or 88 or something like that. I mean, he played a Jimmy G game. And then you go into the game knowing he can play his Jimmy G game, and as long as he doesn't lose the game, that was the thing. Just don't lose us the game, and we have a shot at winning. And he didn't lose you the game.
I'm with you. Hey, by the way, we talked about at the very beginning of the playoffs, who has the biggest monkey on their back? I picked Rodgers. I think you might have said Stafford. Right now, though, he doesn't have a monkey. I think he has a dump truck on his back, don't you?
Yeah. I mean, we're not going to talk about what we think is going to happen because we're saving that for next week's show, but he certainly is carrying a huge load and a huge expectation. We know what the Rams did this year. They went out and got themselves a Super Bowl team. Anything short of that's going to be tough.
They have no first round pick until 2025 or 24. I forget what it was. So they put everything on the table, right?
Yeah, they have.
All right. Yep. All right. Hey, all right. The huge news, everybody heard about it last weekend, but then there was some rumors that said it's not true. But Our co-host here, TB12, Tom Brady, retired. What is his legacy in your mind, PB?
His legacy is obviously the 7 Super Bowl championships. I mean, that's gonna be the one thing that you're gonna hear over and over again. 10, 15, 20 years from now, they'll be saying Tom Brady in the 7 Super Bowls. Outside of that, I mean, I would love to say his legacy is just a patriot, a true patriot. But the fact that he played those last 2 years in Tampa Bay, and the way he kind of went out, and at first he wasn't really leaning too heavily into congratulating the.
Do you think that was on purpose? Do you think that was on purpose?
Yeah. I think there's some bad blood there. I do. I think there's some bad blood there. I think if he wanted to, he could have retired a Patriot and probably still won another championship in those last couple of years if he wanted to.
Yeah.
But he wanted to just go somewhere else. He was tired of Belichick, and I mean, I don't think he had any ill feelings towards the Crafts, but I just don't think there was a good synergies there with Coach Belichick. And that's probably why he just said, you know what, right now, this is what's in front of me. I play for Tampa Bay. I'm a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. I just won a Super Bowl with them last year. I just took them to a divisional round playoff game this year and brought them back from down, whatever it was, 24 points. I think it was deliberate.
What's your one lasting memory? If you have one thing to pick all time about Tom Brady, what would you say about him?
Yeah, that's a good one. Well,
whether it was a performance or whatever it might be.
Yeah, it's hard to not bring up the Super Bowl against the Falcons when they were down 28-3 and he brought them back. The championship game against Kansas City a few years back that went into overtime, just back and forth in that fourth quarter, and James White ran it in to win it in overtime. That was a good Brady game too. I have to go with the Falcons Super Bowl though.
Okay. My lasting thought about him is he never took the most money so the team could be the best they could be by getting other guys. And you look at today, right now, I'm reading all these stories on my phone that the Cowboys are in trouble because of Dak Prescott's contract that just got signed last year. And Brady never took the most money, right?
Yeah, those caps can kill a team. I mean, it's going to happen with Seattle too. I mean, Seattle's in that same position with Wilson's cap hit. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. And not to mention the fact that they went out, the players that they got with that money weren't skill position players. They would go out and get, they always had decent tight ends, but they would go out and get defensive players. They'd get defensive backfield help. They never had a stud besides Randy Moss. They never really had that stud receiver or a stud running. I mean, Corey Dillon was probably the best running back that.
That's a good one. That's a good one. There you go. There's 1B. So 1A is he took the less money so they could get guys on the roster, and 1B he won one out superstars, right? Yeah,
and I don't even know, did Brady even play with Corey Dillon?
Yeah.
Maybe two. Yeah, I know Corey Dillon played back in the.
He was there for about three years.
Yeah, okay.
I think they might have went to one Super Bowl with him.
Yeah. So they never. That's another thing too. He's thrown more touchdown passes to other receivers, right? I think he's up near 100 different receivers he's thrown a touchdown to, which is unbelievable to think about. Unbelievable.
Yes. When you think of the guys that he made famous, Wes Welker, Danny Amendola, Julian Edelman, I mean, these guys were not household names before they played with him, right? And these guys have got 100 reception seasons. Unbelievable. Yeah. So, he is the greatest of all time. We're going to have a discussion of future shows. Where does he rank all time in sports on the GOAT Island, right? We'll talk about that. I got a question, though. Right now, who do you think replaces him next year in Tampa Bay?
Well, right now, they obviously have Kyle Trask, who they drafted out of Florida as their backup. He was under the two
caliber team, though. Are you going to make Kyle Trask your quarterback?
Well, I mean, that's the thing. So it's either that. I mean, they don't have a high draft pick, so they're not getting a quarterback in the draft.
No.
Right? They're probably not going to trade up to get a quarterback in the draft. So can they groom Kyle Trask? I mean, Kyle Trask will obviously be in competition with some other quarterback that's going to end up landing there. Who are the options? I mean, Derek Carr, there's been discussions of him going maybe to Washington. Maybe Tampa Bay looks at him. I mean,
there's 5 names. Jameis Winston comes back. Aaron Rodgers, does he go there because it's a ready-made team? Jimmy G, because he's going to be out of San Fran. Russell Wilson, because they suppose he wants to get out of Seattle. And I got one other one for you. If Aaron Rodgers doesn't go there and he goes to Denver, Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah, I don't think Bridgewater can get it done for them. I don't think Jameis Winston can get it done for them. I don't know if Russell Wilson, that's a tough one too for me. Aaron Rodgers, obviously. I think Jimmy G would probably be, I think he fits into that system better than any of the other quarterbacks.
What an irony, right? What an irony. The guy that's drafted replaced Brady finally replaces him, not in New England, but in Tampa Bay, right?
Yeah, that would be fun. That would be good.
And you're right. He knows the system. He's already picture perfect for the system. I think, and they got a team that can win without him having to be a star at the end of the day, right? They're a ready-made team for him, so I don't know. All right, we'll talk more about that in a couple of weeks. NFL movement, coaches changes. There's been a lot of them, but big week this week. Brian Flores came out with a huge, shocking announcement after he got fired a few weeks ago. PB, this one's a shaker. I mean, when I first heard it, I was like, oh, man. And then you hear Belichick's involved because of his tax. By the way, that was an innocent tax. He didn't know, whatever. But then people came out and said Bill did it on purpose. He knew because he wanted to get exposure for Flores. All I'm saying is, in my mind, BFlo, yes, I said he should have been fired at one point in time unless he won the last game, which he did. I think he did a good job. My only trouble with him his whole time in Miami, we've talked about this in the show, why did so many coaches get let go? Why was he having a problem with other coaches? He's a good coach. I know he knows the game. BC guy, I like him. I love him. But why did he have a problem with other coaches? But the way he got let go and the way he's not getting considered for other jobs, it's concerning. Don't you agree?
I do. And he's in line right now for the Houston job. I think there's 2 or 3 finalists, right? And he's one of them. But
by the way, Nick Casario's there. They know each other from their Patriots days. It's a no-brainer. But do you go to the Houston? If you're him right now, Houston's kind of a no-win situation because Deshaun's probably not going to be playing for them at the end of the day. They got serious talent problem on that team. He doesn't win, and then people, Steve Ross is going to go, told you so, right? Yeah,
it's probably not a good landing spot for him. But I like what he did in Miami. He really helped build up that defense. Last year they had a top, definitely a top 10 defense, if not better than that. He showed he could face the challenge of starting a season 1-7 and still being able to finish above 500 at 9-8. That's incredible to me that he was able to do that.
Yep.
Not sure what his relationship was Tua was like. Obviously, I've been to a ton of Dolphins games over the last couple of years. And what I saw on the field.
So mention that, PB. Did you ever watch the interaction on the sidelines at all? Did you ever notice that?
I never did. I didn't. I should have. I was more fixed on the game, but I should have because you obviously get more time when you're in the stands because there's breaks and they're doing the TV breaks, and I could have been looking over at the sidelines and see what they was going. I'm on the opposite side, so the visitors are down in front of me, and then across the way is where the home team is. But
okay.
But still, there was something amiss there. There was something amiss with the whole relationship, whether it was with the other coaches or with some of the players. So I do like him, though. I think he deserves to be a head coach in the NFL. We'll see what happens. But I
agree. Do you think Ross offered the money, $100,000 to lose?
I hope. I mean, if Flores is just trying to stir up the pot and making up shit, then I have no respect for him, and I hope he doesn't get a job. But if he's telling the truth, how was it said? Message? Was it a subliminal message, or was it a direct message, or like how did that conversation actually happen? I don't like it. Obviously, it kind of ruins the integrity of the game, but you can still do it and still try to win. You can win with your backups if you want.
Yeah, put your backups in. That's all. Play your backups. Play your subs, right?
Right. Coach your ass off. But put your second stringers in. And
the guys you think are going to be your foundation next year or 2 years down the road, you play them, right?
Right.
So to me, the 2 things he should have left out was that, and unless you have tangible evidence, unless you have a documented email or whatever, that's a he say, she said, right? At the end of the day.
Right. Well, plus the other thing, Russ, is that's gotta filter down to the players. What do you say? Hey, Tua, you got a 3rd and 10. Throw this away. Like, I mean, you think Tua's actually going to go out there and not try to get the first down and throw the ball? Like, I don't think. I mean,
I'm with you. And the other thing I wish he didn't bring up, because you can't prove this either, the Denver interview. You can't prove that Elway and them showed up hungover. I mean, there's no proof of that, right? At the end of the day, you have the waiter and waitress from the Marriott that morning at the restaurant that says, oh, yeah, those guys reeked of alcohol. I mean, please, you should have left it off the table. Stay with the facts at the end of the day, you know?
Right. And if he's trying to stir the pot and start shit and things like that, I would lose respect for him a little bit. So I'm a little bit on the fence about what's he trying to do here. I mean, he's trying to play the victim and all this other crap. That kind of bothers me a little bit. But the integrity of the game is important.
Yeah, exactly. And the end of the day, you also have to have players and coaches that look like players and understand where they came from at the end of the day. And to have one black coach in the NFL when 70% of the league is black is ridiculous. It's going to change, right? So hopefully BFlo's court stuff pays off, but I hope it doesn't backfire because he can't prove some of the stuff and it just makes him look bad, right?
Yeah.
All right, man. Any parting shots before we head out? Hey, by the way, it's already 3-1 Metro in the All-Star game.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. They do the division matchups and then they advance and stuff. They just started doing that in the last couple of years. It's kind of interesting how they do it, but no, just enjoy the Olympics. You know, there's a lot of Olympic sports out there you don't really watch on a regular basis, but they're fun to watch during the Olympics, whether it be, you know, alpine skiing or whether you're watching curling or hockey or biathlon and even figure skating. And there's just so many good sports out there to watch right now. And the competition level is the best in the world. So I just encourage people to check it out because it's good sportsmanship and it's great to see the world come together through athleticism like that.
I just wish we could have more fans. I wish it was more normal like the older days, right? When it was, 100,000 fans at every event and stuff like that. But hopefully one day this whole mess will be over. We can be there with no worries about face masks or anything. So we'll see. All right, PB&Z, next weekend we'll be back with our Super Bowl talk, our Christmas Day for men. Yes, sir. All right, brother. Talk to you later.
All right, Z.